Unwilling to forget Sardis and Marathon, the great king Darius started to assemble a new invasion force. The Persians had spent a large part of the decade after Marathon preparing for the expedition. It seems they had ignored all the signs foreshadowing the doom of their campaign. First, Darius himself died in 486 BCE, and then Egyptian revolt erupted that had to be put down, further stalling the preparation. 4 years later, his son Xerxes sent ships across the Hellespont. They were caught in a terrible storm, and the damage they suffered postponed the invasion for at least a year. In 481, the great king himself was headed for Europa once again. The army that he raised consisted of Iranians, Persians, Medes, Bactrians, and even Indians. The Persians had developed the archer-spearmen team into a squad, with up to 9 archers taking shelter behind a spear-armed leader who bore a large wicker and leather shield. The cavalry consisted of bow or javelin-armed Asians and conquered Greeks later joining them. Modern estimates put the numbers of Xerxes' army at around 210,000 men and 75,000 animals. To supply this huge army, the Persians had built depots in lightly populated southern Thrace for their passage from the Hellespont to Macedon. But once in Greece, they would depend upon contributions from subjected cities and supply boats. Their fleet numbered over 1,300 ships. The Persians intended to advance south down mainland Greece, with army and navy acting in mutual support, exploiting Greek internal divisions, pushing most cities into surrender, and crushing all resistance. Destroying the enemy fleet was a priority, since it threatened Persian resupply by sea and prevented amphibious landings. The Greeks who chose to resist formed what today is known as the Hellenic League, a coalition of Sparta and its allies, especially Corinth, along with Aegina, Athens, Plataea, Chalcis, Eretria, and the island of Chios. Spartans were chosen to command on both land and sea, even though Athens provided over half of the League fleet. Athens' leading strategist, Themistocles, had persuaded the Athenians in 483 to use income from newly discovered silver mines in Attica to increase their fleet to 200 warships. The Greeks of the League thought themselves unable to face the Persian host and its powerful cavalry in the open field. Instead, they attempted to use mountains, sea straits, and even food and water as weapons. They hoped that supply problems and lack of harborage would erode the Persian superiority or even force Xerxes' withdrawal. Thus, 10,000 Greek hoplites and a large contingent of Thessalian cavalry were sent to hold the pass in the Vale of Tempe to prevent the invaders from gaining access to the fertile plains of Thessaly. However, this original position was abandoned because there were other paths which circumvented Tempe, giving the invaders the opportunity to surround the defenders. Next, the pass at Thermopylae was selected, because it was even narrower than Tempe and it was possible to be defended with fewer men. At the same time, Greek ships at the Straits of Artemisium would keep the Persian navy in check and prevent the Persian landings behind the Thermopylae line of defense. The Greek strategists knew that at one time or another they would have to face the Persians in an open field of battle. They desired first to break the enemy's fighting spirit and morale. King Leonidas of Sparta took up this dangerous mission along with 300 elite Spartan hoplites. They were joined by 2,120 Arcadians, 400 Corinthians, 200 Phliasians, and soldiers from Thebes and Thespia. In total, over 7,000 heavily armored men would act as a wall of spears and bronze against an army assembled from every corner of the Persian Empire. They would hold out as much as possible until the Greek allies mobilized their main army. Thermopylae and Artemisium were key points in winning the war against Xerxes' invaders.